Exactly 1 week before the U.S. midterm elections, and President Trump is ramping up his anti-immigration rhetoric. On this day, Mr. Trump vowed to end birthright citizenship.
Citizenship for U.S.-born children of non-citizens is granted by the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, but President Trump says he will sign an executive order to end it.
Some legal scholars believe you can get rid of birthright citizenship without changing the Constitution.
With an executive order.
Exactly.
Right.
Have you thought about that?
Yes.
Tell me more.
It was always told to me that you needed a constitutional amendment.
Right.
Guess
14th
what?
Amendment.
You don't.
You don't.
Number one, you don't need that. Number two,
I mean, that's in dispute.
You could definitely
that's very much in dispute.
Well, you can definitely do it with an act of Congress, but now they're saying I can do it just with an executive order. Now, how ridiculous. We're the only country in the world where a person comes in, has a baby, and the baby is essentially a citizen of the United States for 85 years with all of those benefits. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it has to end.
Joining us now to discuss the legal aspect of this is Seth Berensweig, a business and constitutional attorney. And Seth, is it settled that a president through executive order can undermine, can get around an amendment to the U.S. Constitution?
No, it can't happen. It's a non-starter. I think that this was really more rhetoric than reality. As you have noted correctly, the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees citizenship. When an individual is born in the United States, they are guaranteed American citizenship as well as the citizenship in the state in which they are born. That is a part of the Constitution of the United States. It is certainly possible to amend the Constitution of the United States, but a president can't just sit down in his or her chair one day and with the swipe of a pen completely blow that up. There is absolutely no basis for that, and neither the president nor anyone in the administration has provided any explanation whatsoever for this novel and bizarre theory.
So, Seth, walk us through the process, the right process for making such a constitutional amendment. What should be the right way to do it?
Well, it's a process that takes a couple of years. There is a process whereby the Congress initiates the action to recommend the amendment to the Constitution, and then it goes out to the various legislatures across the country. And then there are certain metrics in certain percentages that have to be reached. But it is a national process. It is a process that envelops the legislatures throughout the country in order to be able to have the requisite voting to make that happen. This is, I believe that since the president has really no basis for this, one of the reasons why we have to go into an explanation of why this is happening today is just to really take a look at the timing of where we are. We're 7 days away from a critical election, the midterm elections here in the United States. This is an issue, an immigration issue that's been a very hot button for the president, and because of the news cycle, apparently this is something that he just wanted to ring the bell one more time. Unfortunately, immigration is also a very toxic issue in the United States. We've seen, for example, the tragedy that happened in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania a couple of days ago, where before the person went in and committed a mass slaughter, he indicated in social media that he was upset not only about the religion of the people that were in that temple, but also the temple's association with an agency that helps people with immigration. So this is really a big problem, not only in terms of the substance, but in terms of the timing.
Seth Berensweig, a business and constitutional attorney. Seth, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's bring in now Jenna Ellis, Director of Public Policy for the James Dobson Institute, and Nina Dutta, an immigration attorney. And Jenna, first to you. It's not just legal analysts who are saying that the president, through executive order, cannot undermine the U.S. Constitution, a constitutional amendment. Even the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, says that the president cannot do this. So I wonder if you'll just admit this is a simple political ploy a week before the midterms.
I don't think it is a simple political ploy, and while it's true that the president can't undermine the Constitution through executive order, no one knows what exactly an executive order would contain. So the fact that we are very short on history here, and we're not remembering that the travel ban executive order was upheld, as well as the family separation executive order that was manifestly constitutional, no one knows at this point what an executive order would actually contain.
But those dealt with separate things that are not specifically covered by the Constitution. And Nina, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 14th Amendment of the Constitution specifically covers people who are born in the United States.
That's correct. In order to, as your earlier guest just said, in order to overturn that, you would need 2/3 of the House and and 2/3. Also for they may need a constitutional convention. That also needs 2/3 of the Senate.
Because it's specifically laid out by a constitutional amendment as it stands now.
So, Nina, do you think the president was just playing the immigration card to the fullest to shift the debate in the country?
I mean, it seems so obvious. Yes, it's we're a week away. His base needs to be riled up. So, of course, this is a perfect way to do that.
And Jenna, look, I mean, even if go ahead, Jenna.
I would say I would disagree with that this is something that is a settled question. The Supreme Court has never explicitly said that children who are simply born within the geographic boundaries of the United States born to illegal immigrants are in fact citizens under the 14th Amendment. The U.S. Constitution in its original form never defined the term citizenship, and the 14th Amendment also includes that term subject to the jurisdiction thereof. What does that actually mean? That
means
has
people
been
born in the United States. I mean, it's perfectly clear.
No, not exactly. It has never been said that it's geographic boundary, it's political, exclusive. And no, that's actually not the case. There's a great argument to be made that it is exclusive political allegiance. And if you actually go back and look at the legislative history, Senator Howard expressly said that this would not include Indians, Native Americans.
But Jenna, how come then no legal experts are making the argument? How come no legal experts are making the argument? The only thing I've heard, no, they're not. The only thing that I've heard is I've heard some members of Congress say, they have advocated for Congress to take action, not for the president himself through executive order.
And of course, everyone agrees that Congress can take action to determine that. Everyone, of course, agrees with that.
We're not disputing that.
But again, in terms of executive order, where the president can draw the lines, a lot under the INA, the Immigration Naturalization Act, that has actually deferred a lot of power to the president. And so what he can actually do through executive order, I think, remains to be seen. And that's going to determine what exactly he would put in an executive order if he actually does something.
Nina, the president
but this is a topic.
Was not correct to say that the United States is the only country with this practice. There are about 30 countries. It's really not a common practice, but it is out there in countries like Canada and Mexico. They also grant birthright citizenship. But why is it so controversial when the United States is debating it?
I think it's controversial because this country was built on people being able to come here, people being able to, it's the land of hopes and dreams, and the Constitution codifies that. I think that there's so many people. The president himself has been a beneficiary of that. His grandparents came here. You know, he has two, one ex-wife, one current wife, who are immigrants. So really, I mean, you can't say what's good for the goose is no longer good for the gander.
If you can say, excuse me, if you can say that a president through executive order can overturn a constitutional amendment, it's not just the 14th Amendment then. It could be the First Amendment, free speech. It could be Fourth Amendment, search and seizures. Any constitutional amendment, that's the slippery slope here, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if people want to go after this, the Second Amendment is hotly debated. And then let's look at the Electoral College. There's a lot of unhappiness surrounding that, considering the 2000
But I think, Nina,
elections.
that you're mischaracterizing the debate. This isn't talking about opening up a pen and a paper to overturn anything in the Constitution. This is talking specifically about the president going within his Article II authority or that which has been delegated by Congress through the INA to say specifically what he can and can't do in immigration. But that's really the substance of the debate. Nobody is saying that the president should have unilateral totalitarian authority to simply undermine or change the Constitution.
But if you are opening the door,
I don't think anyone's saying
if you're opening the door to this, then he's not just saying it's this one amendment. He's talking about all of them. So you can't cherry pick which ones this president gets to choose. What about the next president?
And we just saw in that clip that the president was talking specifically about him only through executive order putting pen to paper to override a constitutional amendment. In any case, Jenna Ellis, Director of Public Policy for the James Dobson Family Institute, and Nina Dutta, an immigration attorney, thank you both for coming in. Good to see you. Still ahead, Republican Senator Ted Cruz is in a tight Senate race in Texas. He spoke exclusively to our own Michael Schur. We will bring you that interview next.
And this photo of a man cradling a baby has created a lot of buzz on social media. We will tell you why when we come back. I can also tell you right now that it's something that you would want to see because it's good news.